be patient as you do it. My name is Todd German. With the board members of Hometown, like Carol Whiteman and others, just stand up, raise their hands. We really don't thank them enough, and they work hard. You know, it seems like these events just put themselves together magically, but it's not really that. All right, just to get us going tonight, before we introduce our panelists, since Joyce Griffin was previously occupied at our last event, I wanted her to just speak very briefly about some of the deadlines coming up regarding registration and so forth. So, Joyce Griffin, our supervisor of election.
And he's given me 30 seconds, so I have to do this quickly. July the 30th. Who isn't registered in here? No, there's not. If you had a absentee request in and you moved and we got mail returned back to us, that will cancel your request. After the hurricane, we had a lot of that. Also, you put in a request for a vote by mail. Vote by mail equals absentee. Exact same thing. They just got a new name for it now, because you don't have to be absent out of the county to vote. Vote by mails you can request for every 2 general elections. That could be 4 years. You could forget that you had to request. So you may not be getting a ballot because you haven't requested one yet. You can go on my website, keyselections.org, look for vote by mail status, and it will tell you where it's at. We will be mailing them the end of the month. So by the beginning of August, if you haven't got it and you think you should get it, call us and tell us so we can get you another one. You have more you want me to talk about? Change of addresses. Update your addresses. You know, a lot of people have moved in the last year forcefully, and if you go to your old polling place, they will send you to your new one. Trouble with that is lots of people just don't go to the new one, they just go on their way. So make sure we get your correct address. Again, keyselections.org, voter status, and we'll tell you all that's good stuff. Questions? Questions? Okay, good.
Thank you, Joyce. Okay, well, I want to introduce our panelists tonight who will be asking the questions. If we get the U.S. Congress candidates to come on up and take a seat up here while we're doing this. And then we'll also give you some rules tonight. As we've done in the past, we have a panel of experts and Robert that are going to ask questions. But our rules are, you know, we always want to be fair, so there's no gotcha questions. These are questions that are centered around our location, our geography. We're not going to talk about presidential politics or any of that. We're going to try to really find out what makes these candidates tick and what makes them different from each other. So, since we got our candidates up, I'll start off with Robert Cintron. Robert is an attorney here in town, and he was the first and I guess only so far attorney for the Citizen Review Board. Robert and I actually started it way over a decade ago. So,
in a while.
Yeah. We have Linda Chris Cunningham. She is the League of Women Voters representative. Mark Songer is the chairman of Last Stand. And Anthony Klingener is from WLRN, our NPR radio. They all have Germanic resumes, but we only have a limited amount of time. So, okay. Our format for the candidates is they will get a brief 30 seconds or less to introduce themselves. Yes, 30 seconds. You're going to have plenty of time to talk. And then we'll get right into questions. And what we found is the questions are where you really see things. So with that, let's, Debbie, please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Todd, and to Hometown PAC for having us here tonight. Good evening, Key West. So excited to be here. My name is Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, and I'm running for Congress in Florida's 26th Congressional District. I am an immigrant. I came here with my mom when I was very young. Was fortunate to get a scholarship to attend college, got a master's in political economy, and I've been working in this district for the past 20 years. Started in a nonprofit, but most of my career in healthcare and in education. And I'm here because we need a representative that is aligned with the values of our families, of our children. I hope to earn your vote. Thank you.
I'm Commander Demetrius Grimes, U.S. Navy retired, son of an immigrant, son of a Navy veteran. I'm the only candidate here running that has military, diplomatic, executive leadership, and real-world experience in leading people. 30 seconds isn't enough to give you the full story.
Well, we'll have plenty of time to get into other things. So, we have another candidate who is scheduled to be here. She's running late, Soraya Foss. She is a Republican candidate. And then our current Congressman Carlos Curbelo is in DC right now. One little bit of work. Our video is working. Clint, how many people we got watching?
12.
12 people watching? So, and for those watching at home, that we know the video quality, because we're doing it through a cell phone, is a little sketchy, but it's working. We will have a HD recording that shows all the detail of everybody's hair and clothes and everything that we'll upload to our YouTube channel very quickly. So, let's have Robert. Now, also little ground rules, and these will apply for every candidate. Our questionnaires, it's really up to them how they want to do it. If they want to ask the same question of everybody, come on up, Soraya. If they want to ask the same question of every candidate, they can do that. But the first person they ask gets 90 seconds, then the subsequent ones get 30. We would really prefer they ask pointed questions to the different candidates, and then it's 90 seconds. If one candidate calls the other candidate out, the other candidate will get to respond. But the idea is to get as many questions, and we get through this, and we'll get a rhythm going. So, with that, Robert?
Hello. It's not working, but you can hear me, right?
Well, you gotta use the mic.
It's working, okay. Good evening. My name is Robert Cintron, and just by way of information, both Ron Saunders, myself, and the supervisor of elections, Joyce, all were in the same class at Key West High School. And that's the only thing we have in common. So this question is for all three of you, and it's essentially this. The last time I checked, Congress was rated lower than lawyers and used car salesmen by the public. And that's across the board, Republicans and Democrats. What can you all do if you are elected to bring back to this country a spirit of working together and eliminating this party bickering that goes on in Congress?
Who do you want to start, Robert? Pick one to start.
Powell.
Debbie? Hi. Thanks, Robert. I agree with you. I talk to a lot of people that are so disillusioned with the dysfunctionality of what is happening in DC. And to be honest with you, sometimes I question myself whether once I get there, if I'm honored enough to serve, what I'll be able to do. But I can tell you that in my career, I've been able to, working at FIU most of my career, I've been able to really build coalitions and look at all the different members that have had to get buy-in so that we can actually advance things forward. I have many friends that are Republicans. We are not enemies. We are all Americans. We need to work together. We cannot continue this divisiveness. And what I bring is my transparency, my integrity, my commitment to the values of our community. I am a mom. I have 3 kids. I'm going to do whatever I can do to advance even just a little bit that needles to make a positive impact in this community.
I need just 30 seconds, and you'll have plenty of time to subsequent questions.
Well, one of the reasons why I'm running. I'm running to restore some civility and respect and integrity in our discourse in public service. As in the military, we come together as a team to take on any challenge. You know, when I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution, and that meant working for all the people. And I am the only candidate here who can truly say that I'm here to represent all the people. I'm not beholden to any party establishment, and I'm not beholden to any special interests. So,
Soraya, give us your answer, and then you have your 30 seconds to introduce yourself. It's a little odd.
Or can I get it all together?
I prefer if you did it all together.
Okay. My name is Soraya Foss. I'm running for District 26, of course, as a Republican against Carlos Curbelo. The reason why I'm doing it is because I don't feel he's representing the people. He's part of the establishment. Unfortunately, I don't feel that if you have any ties to lobbyists, you lose the interest of working for the people. And I'm an educator. I've been teaching for the past 18 years in Miami-Dade County Public Schools. And I tell everybody, you know, a politician, what is a politician? We seem to have forgotten what that is. You're an employee of the people. And it's really sad to see how nobody really cares about the people anymore. That's pretty much it. I mean, my expertise is in foreign policy. I speak Arabic and Spanish, and I tell people I can't be a hypocrite when it comes to immigration reform. I've taught people citizenship preparation. I've helped them, you know, even learn English. So I know the struggle that people went through to get here the legal way, and we have to keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you. So, well, Robert started us off with a profession less popular than lawyers. So, Linda, what do you have for us as a first question?
We'll start with Demetrius. What is your position on ensuring the protection of Florida's coastlines, water, and other natural resources? And specifically, what plans do you have to address the issue of climate change in Florida?
The environment is one of my key issues, and we need to do more, both as a nation and as a state, to ensure that we are protecting our environment. Our environment, our food supply is a strategic resource, and our water supply is a strategic resource. We need to make sure that the monies that are allocated to take care of the issues with the Lake Okeechobee overflow and restoration of the natural flows through the sea of grass and the Everglades is taken care of, and we need to take the proper measures to eliminate the algae blooms. And we also need to do our best to promote green energy programs. And Florida, if anything, should be a leader both in the nation and in the world in doing so. So I would push for that as your representative, and more.
I'd like to, okay, well, 30 seconds for the, Soraya, you're first.
Again, the root of everything is education. We need to educate people more about what's going on in terms of climate change. And what I've noticed is that although the Republicans can tell you, the majority of them, that it's not a reality, it really is. And we do have to take care of it. And again, we have to instill programs. He's mentioned basically everything, beginning with the algae. That's very important that we have to do.
I've always said there's nothing more important than clean water. As a mother seeing my kids growing up in South Florida, we are ground zero for sea level rise, and we need to make sure that we protect the funding that we need to make sure that we have the right infrastructure that's going to withstand the next storm, that's going to withstand sea level rise in the next 20 years of 4 to 6 inches. Also, when it comes to all the algae that's coming out of Lake Okeechobee and the overflow, I know that there's a bill right now that we need to make sure that it passes, which is to protect the EAA reservoir and allow the, time's up, but to protect the reservoir and the dikes. Thank you.
Mark.
This question is for Mr. Foss, and I'd like to stay with the environmental theme. Senator John Barroso is leading efforts to overhaul the Endangered Species Act to give more authority and responsibility to the states. Environmental groups say that the Endangered Species Act was put in place because states lacked funding and had weak protections. How do you resolve the conflict on this issue between states' rights and comprehensive environmental protections that the federal government can provide?
Again, it's very important that we do give the powers back to the states, but we do have to be able to support them with the funding in order to maintain these types of programs and more. So I would push whatever I can in order to receive more funding for the state.
Yeah.
This question is for Ms. McCarcel-Powell. If Democrats do not win a majority in Congress this fall, how can you be effective?
Well, let's say that this is definitely one of the most consequential elections that we have. We have to win, Nancy, the majority. of the House and Congress. It's the only way that we're going to be able to put checks and balances into this administration. There are 23 seats. It starts with 26. We have the bluest district in the country right now, held by a Republican. But if that were to happen, and I was elected in November, I have to tell you that I will ensure that we find people that we can work with to put a stop to the horrendous, divisive policies that are coming out. And I know that there are a lot of things that connect us more than divide us, and I'm very committed to doing that.
I want to ask you a question about federal flood insurance. It seems that the rates are continuing to climb way above the inflation rate. Are we at a point now where the residents of Monroe County and the property owners can just simply have to accept the fact that rates are going to continue to go up? So that it's going to become impossible for people to live down here? Or do you have specific ideas as to how we can stop this creep in insurance rates?
Well, first in Congress, we need to make sure that we reauthorize every 5 years the National Flood Insurance Program that we have right now to protect these premiums from increasing, and also including small businesses, which are not right now included in that program. I think that if you ensure that any structure is built to code and to sustain any sort of flooding, we can control the premiums, but we have to be realistic that we are living in a coastal community that is actually ground zero for flooding, for sea level rise. But as long as we're following the right structure and regulations, we should be able to keep premiums at a rate that can be affordable, protecting our neighbors so that we can have this incredible community, Key West, all of Monroe County, South Florida, intact.
This question is for Ms. Stotts. Your opponent, Carlos Curbelo, brands himself as a collaborative legislator working both sides of the aisle, attempting to bring civility. How do you differentiate yourself from him, and why will you be better at it than he is?
For one thing, I'm not going to tell people what they want to hear, and I'm not going to play both parties. I'm going to be very realistic, and we do need to work together. This is ridiculous. They haven't been able to get anything done just because everybody's working for their own interest. We do have to come together. At the end, it's about the people. It's not about the political party.
We probably need to start with Demetrius.
Okay, for Demetrius, the incumbent is the sponsor of H.R. 5382, the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School Family Support Act of 2018, that would accelerate income tax benefits for charitable contributions for relief to the families of slain or injured victims of the shooting. What are your ideas about legislation that would more directly prevent gun violence that the nation's school children face?
That's a great question, and thank you for asking. We need to do more with respect to these assault weapons. I was trained and qualified in these weapons. I was responsible for hundreds of sailors who were trained and qualified in these weapons. These weapons of war have no business on our streets. And there's no better way to send a message to the NRA and to Washington and the president than to send a military officer to tell them they're wrong.
Yeah.
I guess I'll ask Debbie the opposite question. Even if Democrats were to win a majority in November, the executive branch is still in charge of the environment, healthcare, immigration, trade. What can and should Congress do to change the direction of this?
Well, I can tell you that the values of the Democratic Party are to reduce costs for healthcare, to invest in public education, and I know for a fact, because it's such a personal issue, to enact real gun reform right away. If we have a 2/3 majority in Congress, we can sustain any veto coming from the executive. So that's why it's so important that we elect Democrats in Congress and the Senate in November.
Demetrius, is that, am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yes.
Okay. I think Joyce will confirm that we basically have 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 Democrat, Republican, and no party affiliation. What is your view as to why we have so many people that do not identify with either the Democrat or the Republican Party? Is there a problem, or has the two-party system become obsolete?
I can't speak for them, but I can speak for what I believe based on my discussions. And I think within these non-party affiliates, there are Democrats and Republicans who believe that their parties no longer represent them. And part of the reason is because of basically what we have is institutionalized corruption, where the party establishments are picking candidates to run in districts before the primaries on both sides. And so people are tired of people in Washington telling them who their candidates should be and how their congressmen should vote. And so, this is one of the whole reasons I'm running, and I'm running to restore the power to the people.
Going back to gun control, this is a question for all three of you. I'll start with Ms. Foss. However, it's really a yes or no question, so nobody should need 90 seconds or 30. Do you favor or oppose a federal policy to ban assault-style semi-automatic weapons and high-capacity magazines for civilian use? And do you favor or oppose implementation of universal background checks?
Well, I oppose the first one, just because if we start limiting the types of guns, we can't take away people's freedoms at the end of the day. And I do believe we do need background checks, just because we need to make sure that the weapons don't fall in the wrong hands.
As someone who lost her father to gun violence, let me tell you that when I hear those words, it's like a stab in the heart. Real gun reform starts with banning military-style weapons. Real gun reform starts by passing universal background checks. It's not that complicated. We can do this to protect our kids so that people that shouldn't have those guns go into places of worship and schools and take away the lives of so many people that don't deserve to be killed because the NRA has controlled this message for too long.
The best way to protect our Second Amendment rights and the public is to implement responsible gun ownership. And yes, we need to get these assault weapons off the streets. We also need to ban the high-capacity rounds, the extended magazine clips, the body-piercing armor, or the armor-piercing rounds, the body-piercing rounds, and the other deadly accessories that go along with these weapons that have no place on our streets. Our schools should be safe havens. Our public spaces should be safe havens, not war zones.
Response. You are two very strong people, are two very strong responses in favor of this kind of control, and yet you say no. Can you tell us a little bit more why you would not favor the banning of military-style assault rifles and high-capacity magazines?
First of all, those are not the type of weapons that just land in people's hands to begin with. The way how I see it is that it's not the weapon. We can ban all the weapons. The bad people are still going to find a way to get them. And people are not going to have anything to defend themselves with. And I believe that that's what the intention was in the beginning, to have the freedom to bear arms.
I'd like to start with Debbie on this question, but get a reaction from the other two candidates. The United States is said to be the second largest Spanish-speaking country on the planet. In a New York Times opinion article, Valeria Vaselli says, no matter their story and immigration status, shame and guilt are what Hispanic children are taught to feel in America. Do you agree with this statement? And if so, what change can Congress make to improve the situation?
I do, and I relate to it somewhat. I remember when I came here, the comments that we got. My mother didn't speak English. My sisters had a very thick accent, and went through a lot of periods of discrimination coming here. We worked very hard, and we were very fortunate to be able to make it because of the opportunities that we were afforded. And so many families are coming here to this country looking for those opportunities. And unfortunately, the horrific policies of the Trump administration are separating right now children from those families. And I can tell you that when I found out that in our district we have a detention center that's holding over 1,100 kids, I wanted to personally go and break down those walls and take all those kids. But my campaign said, don't do that, because that's not going to look very good. But the reality is that we're all immigrants, whether first, second, or third generation. That's what's made us strong. That's what makes us who we are. We are the land of the free. We have welcomed immigrants, and we will continue to be here. We have to work for immigration reform and to get pride from being who we are instead of criminalizing people that are coming here in search of opportunities.
As of this morning, there's still 100 children below the age of 5 that are separated from their parents, and that's a stain on our country and a stain on our reputation as a moral and a humane leader around the world. And as a nation of immigrants, we need to ensure that it doesn't matter whether you're where you came from. This is the land of opportunity, and we need to set the example to the world and be the beacon that we've always been. So one of the reasons I'm doing this, I'm not done serving until we restore our humanity and our decency in treating immigrants and all people with respect.
I honestly have a different opinion. I feel like we went from being the land of opportunity to the land that people think that they can take advantage of for using our tax-paying dollars. How many veterans do we have that are out on the streets? How many children are taken away from their parents, when they get arrested or whatnot? The immigrants that are here are the ones that came legally. And I can tell you, because I've taught many of them preparedness, and it's not right for these people to come up front and want to take advantage of our system. And that's where I don't agree.
Dan?
I'll address this to Demetrius, even though I'd like to answer from all of your answers. We like to think we're the most important part of this district, of course, here in the Keys, but I believe Monroe is actually not the majority, either in population or registered voters. What do you think are the most important issues in the Keys, and would be your priorities if you were elected?
Healthcare is a big one, the environment's a big one, and then when I talk about economy, I'm talking about fair wages, living wages, and profit-sharing opportunities, as well as affordable housing. One of the biggest issues down here is affordable housing, which impacts the business leaders and the business community significantly, as well as the consumers. So, you like me, I plan on moving down here. I fell in love with this place operating out of NAS Key West in '92. I've been back with 3 different squadrons, so I look forward to every opportunity to be down here. So, I'll be here and I'll be with you.
It might not be the most heavily populated, but it definitely is the most beautiful. And we do need to maintain that. We need to maintain the tourism, the economy, and again, affordable housing. It's very important for the Keys.
I have to tell you that the environment has to be one of the top issues because our entire livelihood is connected to it. We depend on it. Our economic engine is based on tourism, the fisheries, but also healthcare. I have talked to many people along Monroe County who don't have the accessibility that they need. The healthcare costs continue to rise. Seniors are faced with cuts for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. People that have special needs. Give me 1 second. People that have special needs have to drive 3 hours to get their health care. So health care is one of the top issues. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So just to clarify, Demetrius and Debbie are running in the primary against each other, and Soraya is running against Carlos Curbelo in the Republican primary. The winners of those 2 will face each other. So these are your 3 of your 4 candidates for U.S. Congress. Thank you, guys. Will the Board of County Commissioners, District 2 guys come up? And girls. Sorry. I want to do an experiment while they're coming up. And then, we usually do an ask for donations. Well, Sheldon is not here tonight, and God forbid he's watching online because he's going to see me. But I'm going to try not to ask throughout the night for you to join Hometown or give us a donation. And then we'll see what the results are in the till at the end of the event. So you really should still join and give a donation, but you don't want to listen to me ask all night. So let's just see what happens. My phone's ringing, so it could be Sheldon. While they're setting up, we talked about video earlier. Two Oceans Video is doing, it used to be, doesn't matter what it used to be, it's Two Oceans. Clinton, who runs it, is here. Thank you so much. Of course. And you guys, if you all take a seat, we'll get right into it so we keep things moving along. Linda, you're going to be first this time. Let's start with, we did it before reverse, so Michelle, we'll start with you. 30 seconds. Who are you?
Can you hear me now? I'm Michelle Coldarn. I'm running for County Commission because our future matters. The next 4 years are critical to our county. That's why my experience matters. As an elected official, I have proven leadership skills. As a guardian ad litem, I have gone into our county and have worked with children up and down the county. My degree in psychology has trained me to be a professional, effective listener and problem solver. I am prepared to make this my full-time job to listen to the needs of our county.
Debbie.
Hi, my name is Debbie Halma, and I'm also running for County Commissioner Seat 2. And I'm running for the people of the Lower Keys who feel like they have not been represented in probably the last 20 years. So I live in that community, I shop in that community, I get my hair done in that community. And I'm here for them. And I'm in it 100%. And I will also devote my time making this county the best it can be. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Chuck Weitzel. I'm a local certified public accountant. I live in the Lower Keys, Big Coppet. My office is on Stock Island. I went to Rutgers University, graduated in 1980, came down here on vacation and bought a piece of property. Now, for the next 15 years, I transported myself back and forth every opportunity I had. I love the Florida Keys. I'm here by choice. I'm here basically because I want to make a difference. I look at what's going on and it's not right. Taxation without representation is wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Linda's going to start off. Before you do, the people at the door, and we got some seats up here, and there's a few seats in here. We can't have you standing by the door. Yes, that's everybody standing by the door. That's what I'm talking about. Linda.
I'll start this with Charles, but I would like all three of you to address it. Increasingly, Tallahassee has passed laws that prevent local governments from passing certain regulations, things like local gun control, land use management, an attempt to control how we handle vacation rentals, ride shares. How would you retain control of local issues by local people affecting Monroe County?
I do believe that most decisions for local government should be made locally. They should be put out for referendums. It should be basically brought to the people that are going to be affected. And that is the people that live, work, and basically run the county. I, as a CPA, have got hundreds of clients, so I'm in touch with what it takes to make a successful business here in the Florida Keys. And I can tell you right now, those are important topics that I will not falter on.
Debbie.
I agree with, is this on? Yeah. I agree with Chuck, especially with the issue of vacation rentals. I don't think the state of Florida should tell us how to handle our vacation rentals. I think that's for us to decide. And I agree with everything else he said. Thanks.
Michelle?
So home rule is what you're talking about, and what that basically means is for the municipality to have the right to govern their people. And in Tallahassee, sometimes they think they can do it better from 1,200 miles away. What's important for an elected official to do is to lobby the legislators, to let them know that we understand how to run our own community and to effectively make changes that are important to us. And that includes things like vacation rental ordinances that we at this point cannot touch because of home rule.
I'd like this question for Debbie. Big Pine Key is the poster child for flooding risk due to sea level rise, but new businesses are trying to get around restrictions that protect community character and endangered key deer. The Communities Plan for the Lower Keys values the rural feel of neighborhoods and provides for small commercial zones to service locals, while Florida statute calls for Florida Keys affordable housing to be in close proximity to places of employment. How do you see the balance in District 2 between the call for increasing density for workforce housing and economic growth versus protecting the environment and quality of life?
Thank you for asking me that question. I absolutely believe that our sea level is rising. I don't know what commercial businesses you're speaking of that are trying to go around the building department. We've got a pretty active Stern building department going on right now, which is very evident in the aftermath of Hurricane Irma. Also, workforce housing, big topic. I believe that we can use existing buildings, such as the prison site, to possibly do 50 to 60 units over there. And I think that would be a much better choice than these small Katrina homes that they're putting in on Big Pine Key that is high cost for only 4 families. So I think that we could do a lot better on getting workforce housing, and that's an area that's close to our only commerce and close to the highway. So that would be my answer to that.
This question is for Ms. Coldiron. Although county commissioners represent specific districts, you're elected countywide. So how would you balance the interests of that district versus those of the whole county, as well as the interests of the unincorporated areas versus the cities, who also are your voters?
It takes broad shoulders to be able to balance all the issues that affect our county. And I have that ability. I understand that an issue that's important to Key Largo might be not as important to Key West. And definitely as the representative for District 2, it's important that I spend the majority of my time in District 2, going to all of the community meetings, the neighborhood association meetings, the Rotary meetings, to find out what issues are key to that district, and then collaborate, go to the staff and see if there's ways that we can have those issues met, then collaborate on the dais with the other county commissioners to move forward matters of importance to District 2, in knowing that it's also important to represent the entire county and issues that are important for the whole county to be met as well.
This is for all 3 of you, please. I have friends, and I at one time had family who lived on Big Pine Key. And there seems to be an attitude up there that they feel that they're not getting the attention of Monroe County that they're entitled to. And I'm just wondering whether, if any of you all are elected, you will maintain the office on Big Pine Key that George Nugent has kept up there for many, many years, so that at least the folks up there will feel that they've got someone like Mr. Nugent who will listen to them and take after their needs. Thank you.
Chuck, why don't you start, then Michelle, then Debbie.
Quite frankly, I'm located on Big Pine Key. I've lived there since 1995 full time. My office is on Stock Island. I'm not going to duplicate efforts and have an office up in Big Pine while I have an office on Stock Island. Quite frankly, I get paid for performance as a CPA. I don't need to duplicate those out, by having 2 different offices. So no, I would not open up an office in Big Pine and keep George Nugent's staff on just because I want to continue his legacy. No, sir, would not do it.
So I am prepared to make being a county commissioner my full-time job, and I will keep an office open in Big Pine. But if you've been in there, the carpet's red, it's got to go. I think it's not just so important as to where your office is, but that you are there for the people in your district, that they see me at the Rotary Club, that they see me at all of their functions, that I'm at the parks, that I'm at the Winn-Dixie, and then they know that I'm accessible. I'm a phone call away.
Just, you can finish your breath. But you can't take another one. How's that?
Okay, well, that's a great question because I live in Big Pine Key. I have for the last 15 years. I own a business in Big Pine Key. I've raised 2 sons, they're in the audience, on Big Pine Key. And the anger in Big Pine Key is resonating, even before Hurricane Irma, but since we took the brunt of that storm, I can't go anywhere without somebody complaining about the building department, code enforcement. We have people that are not living in their homes right now, and yet we gave out 4 permits for new Katrina homes, and we have people that still are not in their own properties.
Thanks, Debbie.
Hurricane debris removal. It has been a significant challenge. There has been some progress. What investments do you think that the county must make now to better prepare us for the future, including perhaps closing canals? What needs to happen so that we don't see a repeat performance? And I'd like to start with Mr. Weitzel.
Thank you for the question. First and foremost, as an employee of the county, which is what a county commissioner is, they should be looking ahead. They should be putting contracts in place well before those contracts are needed for waste removal. Quite frankly, doing it at the last minute and paying exorbitant rates, I find offensive.
Let me do a follow-up on that. I'm not sure that's the case. Many of these contracts were in place. The governor overruled.
Linda, I guess if
You can't follow?
well, that's kind of being argumentative. If he's right, he's right. If he's wrong, he's wrong. It's not a debate. So.
Microphone.
Both is fine.
So Chuck, you can finish your thought.
What I'd like to say is we need to plan for all the contingencies so that we can take care of our canals, we can take care of the waste removal in a cost-effective way. We don't want to use the middle and lower keys just as a dump site, quite frankly.
Who do you want next, Linda? Okay, good.
There's a bit of a difference here with canal debris and roadside debris. One of the things, as many of you know, we had a 72-acre brush fire happen in Big Pine Key after the hurricane, where I think it's very important that we now need to look at options where whether mechanical to remove that debris or plan burn sites to get rid of that so it's not a hazard. Canal restoration, we had poor water quality before the hurricane. Now we're in dire straits, so that does need to be cleaned up.
So our county learned many things after this last hurricane, and to prepare for the future hurricanes, I think it's important that each year we identify parcels of land that would be available for debris sites. And that will change every year as our county changes. If at all possible, to find land that we could purchase that we would use for multiple purposes, for land, for the debris that we would have to haul, as well as any equipment. But we need to be looking every year at this because the changes that happen to our community are every year. If you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4,
I'd like to stay with canals real quick and direct this first to Michelle, but I'd like a quick reaction from the other two. We had, before Irma, pilot programs trying to work on water quality in residential canals, and proposals have included either a countywide assessment or special taxes to those properties touching the canals that need to be maintained and cleaned up. What do you think is the fair method to pay for improvements for the canal water quality?
So there were some pilot studies that were conducted prior to Hurricane Irma, and the results were just coming in right as the hurricane hit on whether they were cleaning up the canals, and the quality of the water did improve. The question then is that then improving the nearshore waters? And if it is indeed improving the nearshore waters, then this is something that should be funded by the entire county, and I do believe that there are grant monies available to help offset the cost of that. But the bottom line is we have the third largest reef outside of our back door, and it is up to us to protect that reef. And definitely by cleaning the canals, which then moves into the nearshore waters, moves to that reef. So as the quality of the water improves, so does the reef. So I would be in favor, if the studies keep coming and showing that it is improving the water quality, that we should pay for that.
Chuck, and Mark said quickly.
All right. I agree. The nearshore waters and the quality of our environment is so key to what makes the Keys special. It's why we're all here. I love to fish. I love to dive. I'm a PADI now, an SSI scuba instructor. I spend a lot of time in, on, and under the water. I love it down here. And the quality of the water affects the quality of life. So yes, we've got to find the funds, and we've got to find a way to keep the water quality continually improving.
And I would give a shout out to our county on that, because they've done a fabulous job trying to get grant money on canal restoration. And one other note is, in researching for this election, I noticed they've had a lot of really good ideas in the past. There just seems to be no follow through, where they've brought up things like maybe homeowner associations might want to voluntarily do grass gates and that sort of thing. And actually a lot of really good ideas that just, there's no follow through. I don't know what happened to them.
Thank you.
This question is for Ms. Halama, though I'd like to hear everybody's answer. The state has recently approved 1,500 new affordable housing units for the Keys outside of our existing growth management limits. The unincorporated Monroe County would get 300 of those. Do you think the county should accept, and how do you require people to evacuate 48 hours early?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I've thought about making them evacuate in 48 hours. I don't really know how that can be monitored. However, I would take them and hang on to them, even if we're not allocating them right away, because I love the Lower Keys the way it is. We all want to be sensitive to our density. We love our key deer out in the woods there, and we like to keep our density low, but we also need workforce housing. And again, I bring up the idea of using the road prison because it's close to the highway.
So as the current mayor of Marathon and on our city council, we passed a resolution asking for 300 workforce housing units because we saw in Marathon that we had a critical need for workforce housing. We then went to the cabinet and to the staff of the cabinet and the governor, educating them on the issue and how important this was. That there might be land and there might be money, but if there isn't the affordable housing unit, we could not put all the pieces together and take care of our workforce. Sitting on the county, if I was there right now, I would accept those units, put them in the bank, and when it was a proper project, use it.
Chuck.
I would certainly accept those because being a CPA, I'm looking at the total package here as a problem. Workforce housing is an issue here, and what I would propose as we look into is finding a way to take the existing parcels the county currently has and I'll make those available to people who are employed by the county and say, look, if you want to build your home on this ROGO unit that was donated to the county and you want to continue your employment for 10 years, we'll put the property back on the tax rolls today, will allow you to live there. You cannot sell the property, you cannot rent it out, but as long as you're a county employee, that will help our workforce housing, it'll also help our long-term employment with the county employees.
Let me ask you a question about the overseas highway. I realize that the Florida Department of Transportation basically regulates that road, but I think everyone agrees that the traffic on that road has become horrific year-round and it's dangerous. What do you identify as things the county can do to help the traveling public deal with that nightmare of a road? Thank you.
First,
Robert, who did you?
Mr. White.
Okay.
First and foremost, I'd like to basically give the TDC some direction. Let's get them to start advertising the Florida Keys as a place for people to fly into, not drive to. You leave your keys and your problems behind and come to the Florida Keys. We don't need people driving up and down US 1. We don't need to build high-density workforce housing anywhere other than Marathon and Key West, where people can ride their bikes and walk to work. We do not need to build it in the lower and middle keys, where then we're going to have more people driving up and down US 1. If the traffic continues, we're eventually going to have to build a divided highway at a huge infrastructure cost just to protect the lives of our citizens. We're going to need left turn lanes. Again, these are all things that we need to look at. Thank you.
Debbie, I kind of want to hear it there. Other
I like how he brought up left turn lanes because Chuck here in the audience actually advocated with DOT on getting this attorney lane in Lower Sugarloaf. Don't know where our commissioner was there, but maybe a Marathon. Anyway, I agree with Chuck. I like the idea of flying. Also, the county's come up with some ideas about monorails and lots of things that never seem to go anywhere. I'm not sure where the follow-through is. But they actually, I thought I had a really bright idea, and I'll look and I'll go, oh, they brought this up one day. So, not sure.
Michelle.
I think we have to look at this comprehensively and work with FDOT and with the county and with the TDC. We need to improve our mass transit for both residents who live and work here and also for the tourism that comes in here. We need to impress upon FDOT the importance of a center lane for better ability to get on and off US 1 highway. And we need to create hubs where the transit system can go into a central location and a person then could rent a bicycle or get a taxi and go off to their next destination.
Thank you. We have, okay, we're going to do a lightning round here. You can ask one candidate, one question, 30 seconds to answer. So use one of your short answers or short questions, 30 seconds. That way we get one more round here. So Linda.
What are your top 3 priorities to ensure a quality experience for those who live in the Keys and for our tourists? Commission.
Yes, quickly.
Keep investing in our infrastructure so that our beaches and our roads are good and our parks are good. Continue with our hurricane mitigation so that the people who live here can continue to live here. And continue to do our nearshore water cleanup so it's a great experience for anyone in and out of the water.
Chuck.
Quite frankly, we need to put government back under control. The idea that we can basically, through a board of county commissioners, increase the property taxes for an area in Marathon to benefit our Baptist Hospital, which is a profit-making operation, without bringing it even to a referendum, I find offensive. So we need to make the government more reflective of the people that live and work here.
Debbie, top 3 real quick.
Well, I mean, she had a couple of mine, and he had my best one. Yeah, I think we always have a balance of tourism and locals. And I love Monroe County, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. So it's always a balance for the two of them with the traffic as a major situation. I don't know if we need more, maybe another bus route coming down, because I had a girlfriend just recently that needed to rent a car, and she wanted to take a bus from Big Pine, and just timing wouldn't work out. So that could be a big solution there, just 2 more buses.
Thank you. Right. Now, Mark, you get one, each one of you gets one question or one panelist, or one.
This is a quick one for Chuck. Monroe County has borrowed against future revenue from the 1 penny infrastructure sales tax and has been funding several projects with that money. Is there additional capacity to borrow? Is the county overextended, or is the balance just about right?
Wow. Okay, let's talk about debt service. Pure and simple, I think basically any time that we've been spending money that we've raised for endeavors that don't even start until 2023 is ridiculous. We cannot afford to keep basically financing with debt all of the proposed items that these people have already said that, you know, we're going to be building. I don't want to go into debt. I don't write checks I can't cash, and I will not allow the county to do it.
And question for either Debbie or Michelle.
This question is for Debbie. Should people be allowed back into the Keys right after a storm, even if there aren't some services like regular water available to them?
Good question. Actually, as you know, there was a CERT program going on right now where people could actually get trained and get certified so that they will get a special, I think they're calling it the golden ticket. I think that's awesome. I know there was a lot of anger from locals, you know, I guess, you know, us hillbillies in the Big Pine there, that are swearing they will never leave again. And me with children, I would never do that. I would never put our lives in danger. I mean, our personal items and things just aren't that important at the end of the day.
Thanks, Debbie. Robert, one question for Michelle.
Michelle,
Last question.
I think the county recently supported a resolution to explore putting a toll road on the overseas highway. Do you support the county in that vote?
That's a difficult question to answer in 30 seconds. It would have to have parameters so that if you were a local, you would not have to pay that toll. And it would take a lot of moving and shaking from the federal government and the state government for it to even come into actuality. But I am open to any ideas that we can do to bring in extra money for our county so that we can put it into other areas of importance like workforce housing.
Thank you, guys. One of these people will be your next county commissioner. No, I screwed that up completely. They are running for the Republican nomination, and they will face Tommy. Tommy, stand up in the back. I am so sorry. I got lost in the light. So, in the general election, Tommy will be up against the winner of one of these people in the primary. Mark Porter, please come up and bail me out. Look, coming up is Mark Porter. He's the superintendent of schools. He's going to speak on, he's not going to advocate one way or another, but give us a little bit of discussion about the upcoming referendum. And he's not really prepared to take questions, but if one of you guys has a burning question about it, he will give it a shot. So, Mark, you got a minute or so, 90 seconds.
I said 90 seconds. Thank you, Todd, first of all, for giving me the opportunity. Again, also included on the August 28th ballot will be a question approved by the Monroe County School Board for an additional millage to be used solely and exclusively for the purpose of meeting the mandate of on-campus security at each of our schools. Well, we can certainly debate those measures that were put in place. We are mandated to do so, and it will cost us a significant amount of money to do so. We will use whatever the state provides us exclusively for that purpose, and the only thing we will use the additional millage authority for is to fund the gap. And if in 1 year we underestimate that gap, or overestimate that gap, we'll carry those funds over to the next year to be used solely for that purpose. The millage is an up to millage question of 0.0625 mils. And so I just wanted you to be aware that that question will be on the August 28th ballot. And this is an economic impact, a financial impact that will benefit all 16 schools in Monroe County. 10 traditional schools and 6 charter schools will all be covered and included in that additional millage amount. So, Todd, thank you for the opportunity to inform what I consider to be the best informed electorate in the county.
Mark, quick question. You said the mills, but give us a round. How many dollars is that?
Yeah. It would raise the maximum amount, I think, under the current property values would be about $1.6 to $1.8 million. Again, that would be the total amount that would be necessary to fund this effort. If indeed we were to place a school resource officer at each and every location, the state in the coming year will be providing us with approximately $900,000. So again, we already know that we will get a significant portion from them. So even if it's approved for the first year, we would only use it to fill the part that is not funded by the state.
What happens if it doesn't pass?
If it doesn't pass, we will use the money provided us by the state to provide the SROs and the other campus security measures, and we will have to take the additional resources either from our fund balance or from our classroom expenditures.
Thank you. We don't do that from the audience, but that was a good question. So, thank you, Mike.
Okay, thank you, Todd.
Okay, I want to bring up our candidates for School Board District 4. Mark, you're going to be starting off. We have John Dick, the incumbent, and Jim Duran is his opponent. John, let me tell us who you are. Bobby did it last time we were all here.
No, don't do that again. All right, I'm John Dick, and I'm the incumbent. I'm going to ask you to re-elect me, and I'm going to tell you the reason why is because this district is an A-rated district. This district has the highest paid teachers in the state of Florida. This district is rebuilding 3 schools simultaneously at the same time. This district is increasing its college and certified technical programs. This district is increasing its high school graduation rate, and we're in great financial position.
Jim?
Hi, my name is Jim Doran, and I'm running for the school board office. I have been an educator, started down here in 1971 for my entire adult life. I worked overseas in 7 different countries. I've taught school from kindergarten through the graduate level. I have a doctorate in education. And to be clear, I'm not running against John. I'm running for this office. I feel that I have a unique experience, a unique knowledge to bring to the schools to take it to a much higher level.
Thank you, guys. Are ready for questions? Mark?
Yes, for Jim Doran, you have criticized school testing as an incomplete measure of student success. Can you describe what additional measures should be used and how you would quantify and weight these measures with the current testing regime?
We really can't change much of the testing that's happened because it comes from the state. My concern is not changing it as much as making sure that we emphasize the other things that are important in education, that we don't become narrow-minded and only look at our scores and FCAT and those kinds of areas. I believe that we have to teach the whole child, and that's what I would emphasize.
This question is for John. What do you think should happen to the district property at Monroe Road where the headquarters are now?
Well, what we're doing at that property is we're moving out the bus depot because we bought some property over on Stock Island, and the plan is to put some more workforce housing into that property. First thing to do is to get rid of the buses and move them out, and then as far as the district main offices, we'll move them around. I know some people would like to see another building somewhere. I personally think that we have enough room in the different schools that we could farm out the different offices. Because nowadays, offices don't have to be right next to each other. Nobody runs from one room to another to get papers signed. It's all done electronically. So I feel if we had the personnel department with somebody living in Key Largo, they could be set up set up personnel in Key Largo. I think we do have enough room. The first thing, like I said, is we have to move the buses out.
Mr. Dick, my understanding is that Parkland High School was voted the safest school in Florida. But nonetheless, we had that catastrophe that occurred there. Are you satisfied that the students in Monroe County are safe from gun violence? And is there anything that can be done to enhance the safety for these children in our schools?
Well, I have 2 of my grandchildren are attending school in Marathon. Have I felt that they were safe? Yes, I do, but I would not want to say at this point that they are. I would not guarantee, I guess I would never guarantee it. But yes, we do have to do improvements. We will have the SROs in all the schools. We should have single point entry by fencing going around the schools. I'd like to see control of the entrance into the door, meaning that people would have to be buzzed in. There's another thing on metal detectors. I think some of the schools have to make decisions by themselves with their own community, but you know, I still do feel relatively safe. But you know, we will make the improvements. That's it's a requirement, and we will. I'd like to see the district move a little faster on them than they have so far, but I do expect that we will have most of them in place for the start of the school year.
In November, voters will be asked to vote on Amendment 8. If it passes, it will accomplish 3 things. Impose term limits on school board members, encourage civics education, and 3, allow the state to create a system of public schools outside the direct control of locally elected school boards. From both of you, but starting with Mr. Doran, do you support Amendment 8? If so, why? If not, why not?
I do not support Amendment 8. I do not think we should have schools outside the local school board. That becomes again, a home rule issue as far as I'm concerned. And one of the things that our schools provide is the beginnings of our democracy. And I think it's really important that those schools stay within the control of the local school boards.
I do not support it. I do support the civic education. I don't support taking control away from the local school board. And then I'll touch the term limits. You know, I could have argued either side of that. I see benefits on both sides, but something that happened this year has turned me. You know, over the time that I've been on the board, I have gained the trust and confidence of almost every elected official in Monroe County. And when the hurricane came, Craig Cates couldn't find anybody in the district office. He called me and said, we need to get somebody to open up Key West High School. There's 100 people out there. I told him I'll take care of it. I made the calls. It was done.
This one's for John Dick. Monroe County School District earned an A grade overall. The board and staff should really be congratulated on this success. However, several schools were awarded lower grades, and the district continues to lag state averages in high school graduation rate. What specific policies should the board be implementing to increase graduation rates and improve these schools with the lower ratings?
Right, well, that was a target of the school board, to increase the graduation rate. And what we have done, and we are continuing to do, is to target the students that we feel that are already falling behind, say in the 9th grade, 10th grade, not wait until they get into the senior year to see, oh, you're not going to make it. It's preliminary, but we do feel we've made a significant improvement. See, the graduation rate won't be out for a couple of months yet. But from what we've seen, we feel we made an improvement this past year, and we feel that we made significant improvements on this year that we just finished. So we are, and then we bring in remedial classes. We have online classes for those that have fallen behind, and of course we push them into the summer school. So it has been a major target of our school board for the last 2 years.
Mr. Doran, what can we do to retain teachers better, and is providing housing for teachers and staff part of that picture?
I really appreciate you asking that question. What I found, and I've been head in schools in 7 different countries around the world, and what I found is that the answers are in the classroom. They are not on the school board. They are not on with the administrators. The teachers know what needs to happen, and if we bring them in, they will feel that they have they are part of the process, not instead of being talked down to, that they are part of the process. And if they have autonomy, that they can do the things that they know are important in the school, if they feel that they have a sense of purpose, that they're moving ahead, that they feel like they are part of the process, they will do the things that we're all looking for. So one of the things that I have found in my schools is to be successful, is to be the person there and say, how can I be there to support you so you can do the best job in the classroom.
This is for both of you gentlemen. I heard Mr. Diggs say, I'm sure it's correct, that Monroe County has the highest paid teachers in the state. Do you think that they are being fairly compensated regardless of whether or not they're the highest paid teachers in the state in light of the very high cost of living in Monroe County?
Let me go, John, since he used you.
Okay, no, I mean, we need to get more to them. It does cost, a teacher living up in some of the northern counties actually has more money in their pocket at the end of the day. But, you know, we get X amount of dollars, the school board does not have the right to raise the millage unless we go to referendum. But that's why I have always been very, very cognizant of whenever the district is creating a new job or any money spending elsewhere. To me, the most important thing for these teachers to stay here is, and that's the practical thing, they need money. They need as much money as they can get, and I've always advocated, it's what I ran on the first time, is teachers should be the highest paid in the state of Florida, and we need to keep on continuing that, and we will. But is it fair? No, they need to get more than we have. And that's why I keep trying to whittle down every position that I see that I feel is not necessary, because $100,000 administrator removed, it can be divided up amongst every teacher. And you know, let me say, it's not just the teachers. We need to keep the lower paying jobs, the bus drivers, the food service workers. They're in the same position. And so to me, it has always been get as much money as we can to these employees. By watching every dollar that we spend elsewhere, that's how I've been able to push a lot of the money into the employees' salaries.
I started teaching down here in 1971, and I was Teacher of the Year for Monroe County in 1975. And when I started teaching here, I made $5,200 a year. And everybody said you could buy a lot for $20,000. And they said, oh my gosh, look how cheap it was. I said, no, I made $5,200 a year. It has always been an issue in our county, and we have to come up with a way. But one of the things that happened for us when I started teaching here was the banks they said, oh great, you're going to be here, you're going to be a teacher, we want you to be part of the process, and they found out ways to help us to do loans. So I think there's a lot of ways for us to look at making sure we're keeping teachers here, using whatever money we can, but also coming up with other ideas and ideas we've used before. Thank you.
I was not paying attention. Linda.
Part of our half-cent sales tax goes toward funding technology in schools. What is the best role for technology in our classrooms, starting with John and then Jane?
Technology should be a tool that the teachers use. It should not take control of the classroom. Technology is a tool that teachers can use to continue as an aid. We have a lot of computer systems, a lot of whiteboards in the classrooms, and the interactive whiteboards that the teachers use. And I've been into the classroom and watching how they use them. It is a wonderful tool, and the students love it. They go up to the boards and they actually push and make things happen on the boards. So technology is good. Now we also do have some teachers are more able to use it. More of the younger teachers are able to use it better than some of the older teachers. But they're all learning and they're all using it. But I do always have a concern that the teacher is in charge. The teacher is the most important thing in that classroom, not the technology. It's just an aid.
Whiteboard technology is at least 25 years old. What we're doing now, and as teachers, what we're trying to figure out is how best to use the technology as it changes tremendously. But it is the teacher in the classroom who is most important. And I have been an educator, an educational researcher. I have a doctorate in curriculum and instruction. My whole life, I know education, and I know how to help teachers with using that technology in ways that are helpful to their to their students without it taking over, because it can take over.
This is for Jim Doran. You have spoken about your experience as a teacher and the need for someone with those credentials to be on the school board. Please tell us how you distinguish the role of a school board member from the district staff in the daily operation of our schools.
Whenever a decision is made, and my grandmother used to say, if you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu. And I think it's really important that we have an educator on the school board, so that when decisions and stuff that comes up, someone who knows the education can say, well, in the classroom, actually, this is what happened. Sure, the district board members is different than the district officers, but they're making policy decisions, and those policy decisions need to be based on the child. And for the child's sake, I think you need an educator on board.
This question is for John Dick, although I'd like to hear Mr. Doran's thoughts as well. Given that the school district is the largest bite on our property tax bill, do you think the public is adequately engaged with the board at your meetings? And if not, what would you do to increase involvement?
Well, whenever we have something controversial, they attend, and then we have a good crowd. So every once in a while that happens. But the board is, the public is informed. They contact us. You know, as I walk into stores, I go around, I visit the schools, I get asked questions by the community. We do get them on emails. Email is easy for the public to contact us. So a lot of them to come to the board, it might be a little intimidating going to the meeting, except when it's a hot issue, then 150 show up. But I think the public is as engaged as much, and we do put the meetings on TV and on broadcast. We get better than 12 people watching it, though.
How many we got now?
17, buddy. 17.
17, John.
We get 150.
Jim?
I think any board and any school and any administration has to be more proactive about involving parents and involving students. I think our students have a lot to say. I think we have to find ways that our students are able to talk to us about the things that are going well, the things that they have concerns about. Our parents have to feel like they can do that, and not just when there's an issue. We have to be proactive. We have to be out there. We have to be listening to them. The success at the schools that I have run has always been because of the communication and their feeling of involvement and their feeling that I am in part and they are part of the school information. So I think it's one of the most important things we can do is have parents involved.
Jim, you were quite politic in saying that you were not running against John Dick, but were running for the office. My question is, what changes do you wish to make if you were elected to the school board?
Basically, the changes I want to make is I want to make sure that we use the expertise that we have across the schools. That I think the answers are in the classrooms and with the administrators. And I think the best thing we can do is to go out there, and one of the changes I want to make is make sure that they just don't come to school board meetings or just don't send an email because they're upset about something, but they are totally involved in the process. And I think that's how our students will most greatly benefit.
This question is for John. Monroe County School District is in the final year of its 5-year strategic plan. Discuss the successes and/or failures of that plan and describe what directions you would like the district to embrace going forward.
Well, we have gone forward with our student achievement and our high school graduation rate. As I said, that is improving. Our communications plan that we provided on that, we've now set up we have public records, public information officer, a position that I was against all along, but it came on, and that person now sets up for Facebook and Twitter and all the other things that people do nowadays. We're doing that, so we've set up the communications. Some of the things that I'd like to see a little further, I'd like to see us do even further on the building program. As I said, we are currently rebuilding 3 schools. there's a couple of other things that I'd like to see us do in the athletic fields, and I wish we'd go forward on rebuilding some more athletic fields. Other than that, I feel that we've gone forward on our plan, and we're going to continue on, and I think the school district is a lot better off for this plan that we put in place, and we've shown a lot of good improvement.
Thank you, guys. Okay, this time, one of these really will be your next school board. Thank you very much. And Tommy, stand up again. Tommy, stand up again. I screwed up, so I want to give him extra props. All right, now, Keys Energy CD. Come on up, guys and girls. We put this last, sometimes we put the Met, or what do they call it? The biggest show on. And this one, you think Keys Energy, why is that the biggest one? I think to me, this is really democracy in action, and that this is a brand new seat. Never existed before, or at least the way it's being voted on never existed. And they get 4 equally competent candidates. It's really something. And this is going to be a heck of a race, so I'm really curious to see what everybody has to say. So please stick around. We're going to keep rolling through this as soon as they get settled down. And we'll just do all the thank yous. Thank you, Kelly, our AV goddess from Audio, Video, and Paradise. Clayton from Blue Oceans. Jed in the studios at Key West. And if you haven't, when you wander out, go through the gallery downstairs. It's very nice. And if you don't know, you can just come in off the street any day and walk around, enjoy it. And then our food was from, was it Fausto's again? I don't want to say it wasn't. Yes. Fausto's. That did not give us a discount. I got yelled at because I realized they do not give us a discount. I've been giving them credit for discounts. So I'm either going to shame Jimmy into giving us a discount or not give him any credit for it. So. All right, we are here. We did reverse alphabetical order. So Beth, you're going to start us off. Tell us who you are and why you want to do this.
Hello. Hi, I'm Beth Ramsey Vickery. I'm running for the Key West Utility Board because I care about your cost, our community, and conservation of our keys. As voters, you're being asked to elect a board member to set policy and to be the voice for the community. I'm the only candidate for this seat who's been involved in setting our local utility and conservation policies and goals. In the past 10 years, I've attended nearly 300 meetings on local public issues dealing with utility and conservation. I'm timed out. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Robert Barrios. I'm running for the Key West Utility Board, and I'm here for your vote. I'm born and raised here. I worked at Keys Energy for 28.5 years and numerous positions. And just today, it's part of my life. I called in a couple trouble calls that driving down the road, I gotta quit looking up, they tell me. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Greg Daniels. I have lived in the Keys for the last 28 years. I moved here as a young, impressionable 19-year-old man and have worked my way up in the world. For the last 18 years, I have been a construction coordinator for a local telecommunications company, managing projects from the mainland all the way to Key West. I work hand in hand, day to day, with 3 different electric utilities. This brings some experience, real world experience, to this position. For 8 years, approximately 8 years, I have been served on the Keys Energy Advisory Committee.
Thanks, Greg.
I'm Walt Drabinsky. Most of you know I'm an electrical engineer, worked as an engineer for a major utility, did maintenance, built power plants, worked in middle management, left after 10 years to attend the Wharton School, became a management consultant for close to 30 years now. And I want to give back the knowledge I know. I've worked on national boards in the past, and I've worked with a couple dozen boards of major utilities. I have something to contribute. And I need 10 more seconds because Sheldon asked me to say something. No, this is, Sheldon said you have to give me 10 more seconds. If you're here because you care about governance in Monroe County. Join Hometown.
I believe Sheldon probably texted that. You get that. Okay, Nan.
This question is for Mr. Daniels, although I'd like to hear actually everybody speak on it. Since this is a new seat, how would you represent the lower keys on the board? What will you bring that we haven't had before?
For approximately 22 of the last 28 years I've been here, I have been a Lower Keys resident. I'm a Lower Keys proponent. I believe that the people of Lower Keys need the representation on the board to help with rates, to get extra attention to our areas. I believe that Key West has been focused on for a long time, and bringing a Lower Keys voice to the board will benefit all of us in the Lower Keys for not just reliability, but for the issues that we sometimes have.
I think I can sum up what I would bring to the board and what the Lower Keys need. It's 3 principles. 1, I'm here for the ratepayers. Number 2, I'm here for the employees of Keys Energy. And number 3, I'm here to assure that the operating and capital budgets are adequate so that the infrastructure that's in place will support low-cost, reliable power under all environmental circumstances.
Well, I'll bring to the board my knowledge. I've been there for 28.5 years, and I've been up and down every street. I worked at hurricane restorations. I know our system inside and out. And without that knowledge, I don't think you can make good decisions on that board.
I think what I bring to the board is more than 10 years of working on our local utility policies, conservation goals. I've done it for 6.5 years as a private citizen, 3.5 years as your county planning commissioner, 6 years on the Keys Energy Advisory Board. Over that time, I have attended darn near 300 meetings addressing our local utility and conservation issues. And I've heard what you've all had to say at those meetings. So I bring a voice of the community back. Thank you.
Robert.
I have to confess to you that I know very little about the Energy Board. And I would like to ask each of you, what power and authority does the board have as it relates to what we pay for power in Monroe County and Key West?
Let's do this as 30 seconds each. Start with Beth and just run right down.
Well, since you said you weren't sure about the board, the function of the Key West Utility Board is to form the policies, the goals, directions, and guide the financial business of the utility. Regarding power costs, there's 2 things on that. The costs are based on power rates, which are then run through a program at Keys. Probably don't realize it, but the power rates are actually down 20% from 9 years ago. Now, I'd like to bring some new programs to help reduce customer costs in their own home through better conservation. Thank you.
That really was way outside the question. So, Robert.
Yeah, they do have some control over the rates. It goes through the infrastructure and the operating costs and the new projects that come up. And most of the power is bought through our FUMPA, which is a Florida Municipal Power Agency, and they kind of help set that rate. But we can do some things to regulate that on our end.
Right.
You know, this is the #1 question I get when I'm out talking with people is, what does the utility board do? Yes, they do set your rates. There are ways that they can trim your rates. They also decide what projects are going to happen, such as the rebuilding of the Keys Energy headquarters. They decide what hurricane hardening projects are going to be done. Everything they do affects your daily life because that electrical rate that you pay affects your daily life. So yes, the Keys Energy Board of Directors does have a tremendous impact on what you do every day.
Keys Energy has the highest rates in the state of Florida. Why? Because they have a full requirements contract with the Florida Municipal Power Association that is just horrible. And signed it in 2001 and 2011, turned over all its generation, Every utility in the state, every municipal in the state that's associated with FMPA is getting out of the contracts. The city did it last year. Their power procurement costs went down 30%.
Thanks, Walter. Wait a second. I imagine you'll touch on that again. Linda.
I want to riff a little bit on Robert's question.
See?
There are 4 very strong resumes sitting up here. We had trouble getting people running for other offices. What in the name of heaven is the attraction of serving on what is a legacy board from the old city electric?
This is probably the best question of the night.
30 seconds down the table.
Well, start with Greg, then Walt, then Beth, then Robert. We'll try
to make this as quick as I can. I was originally considering running for a different seat. When I did a lot of research, I decided that that seat wasn't for me. I backed down and decided that I didn't want to do anything. When this seat came available or was coming up, I had many local community people tell me, hey Greg, we know you decided not to run for that other position. We think this is right up your alley. Please run for it. I had some discussions with my lovely wife, and she and I talked about it, and here I sit.
It's very rare in a person's life that a position, a political or elected position comes along that so naturally meets your talents and capabilities. So when this came along, I had no choice but to jump in. Somebody said to me, Walt, it's like this position was designed just for you.
I retired 12 years ago. I had no intention of doing anything but going out on my boat. It's true. And I got involved with the extension of electricity in No Name Key, and that snowballed into the comp plan and updating the utility and conservation sections, and that work got me appointed to the County Planning Commission, and that work got me noticed by Keys Energy on their advisory board. So one thing led to another, and when the seat came available, I said to myself, gee, I've been doing this work for our county for 10 years. I think I've been pretty good at it. I'm going to keep going forward.
Well, I'm running for the board because the Keys Energy provided for me and my family. They helped get me to where I am now, and I just want to get back to them. I know that they have done a great job over the years. I've been interacting with all of them while I work there, and I think they have the best interest in the community, and I want to be a part of that.
I'm going to say it was a great question, and those are 4 great answers. So, Mark.
I'd like to put this just to Greg. Keys Energy sets goals for a 2-year strategic planning period, and marketing materials feature the phrase, growing greener every day. But there's no mention of this in the strategic planning goals on the Keys website. What strategic planning goal would you propose to implement this slogan?
Energy saving technology is leaping forward daily. The solar energy panels that we used 10 years ago are nowhere near as efficient as they are now. Compact fluorescent lights 10 years ago were what we were all putting in to save energy. Now we're doing LEDs. Keys Energy just did an LED project in conjunction with the Board of Education for the stadium. I would encourage to grow greener that we move street lights to LEDs, that we move traffic lights to LEDs. Small projects like this can have a giant impact.
This is a sort of a follow-up that I hope all of you will address. Does Keys Energy have a responsibility or a role in encouraging individual homeowners to use solar power? And if so, what?
Start with Robert. Right now, I don't believe that they do enough to get the solar from the homeowners. There's very little that are hooked up to the grid. I'm not sure what can be done, but I think more needs to be done.
Beth, and then we'll go around the other way.
The cost is always the problem. and that's the problem with solar. I lived on Noname Key, I do live on Noname Key. I know the cost of solar and the solar system and the components required for the maintenance. Basically, for a home system, you need almost 5 kilowatts to break even for what the cost of the components, their life, and their replacement cycle is. So it's really, aside from the more wealthy in our community, almost out of reach right now. That does not mean that we shouldn't keep looking at what's coming down the pipe, because I believe it's going to be getting more effective and efficient and affordable for the homeowner.
Thank you, Beth. Walt.
I was going to be nice. Keys Energy is the enemy of solar power. A year ago, they changed the rules so that if you put solar power in, instead of paying you back an equal amount that you paid, they cut it down to about 1/3 of that. It took the payback for solar powers from about 8 to 12 years. There's a glut of excess energy in Florida, and the utilities are doing everything they can. I've never seen a utility that has a limit of 2.5% of the total load as solar. Unheard of.
Great.
I believe that Keys Energy, if people have, a private citizen has its own solar panels, should be able to buy. And I think that that should be encouraged. Because if they're buying the electricity at the same rate that they're buying it from someplace else, it's a greener, cleaner solution. I believe it should be up to that individual homeowner whether they want to make that investment or not.
Thank you. Last hurricane, the folks on Big Pine were assured that if the power went out, there would be electricity to run the grinder pumps and the other sewage system, and it wasn't there. My question is, are you satisfied that Keys Energy has sufficient backup for hurricane events when the power line could go down from the mainland? Walter first.
Grinder pumps, my past life. Grinder pumps generators are supposed to be supplied by the Aqueduct Authority. They promised us they would have 32 trucks with generators on to go around and pump anybody that needed it. Oh my God, do I want to say that they lied to us as well? Because there weren't 32 trucks. I live on Cudjoe, we had power out for 14 days. 10 or 11 days into it, they sent a truck out who pumped out some of the lift stations. It was horrible. We did not get what we were promised. It needs to be changed.
Thank you, Walt. Great. Let's go down.
I'm going to agree with Walt there. That was something that the FKAA promised and was not provided. As far as Keys Energy hardening, hurricane hardening the lines, one of my main concerns is that we start placing some lines underground. Yes, it's a little bit more expensive, but we need to get these lines underground to make them a little bit more hurricane resistant. That's it.
Robert?
Same thing, Aqueduct had that part. I'm happy with our reliability on our system, but with a hurricane of this magnitude, you have no control over which lines go down or which poles go down. We did have a good restoration of the system, and I think we got everybody back up a lot quicker than expected. So in that regards, I think we did a good job on that side.
Keys Energy actually has excellent reliability rates. They're higher than Duke, PA now, yeah. They're very excellent. And the response times are 14 minutes here in Key West, and I think 37 outside Key West. But you're talking about the hurricane that was on the owners of the Aqueduct Authority. I can't tell you how many trucks they had out. We were hit very hard in Big Pine and No Name, and we were pretty busy taking care of our friends and our neighbors. But I did not hear of any sewage backing up into anybody's homes, which had been the threat or the concern.
Thank you, Beth.
I want to go back to the solar issue. Everybody's in favor of solar, let's have more. However, Key West and Hart are not quite so happy when I want to connect my solar panels to grids and things like that. What will you do as a member of the utility board to make that happen? Starting with Robert, 30 seconds.
Well, I did some research too, and the state of Florida as a whole is way behind the rest of the country. Part of that is due to the third parties' sales of that excess and the cost involved. I think we should get more grant money to offer incentives to the homeowners to make it more reasonable. The costs are coming down a lot more than they were 10 years ago, and I think it's going to eventually come to the front.
Great.
Your question was, what can the Keys Energy Board do to make HARC allow them to connect into the, and I, unfortunately, other than going to lobby HARC, I don't think that there's a lot that the Keys Energy Board can do in this matter, other than encourage HARC to allow it. That's a City of Key West issue, I think, that HARC needs to change. I would be on the board and support that change. I believe that if you want solar power panels to power your home, you should be allowed to do that. If you want to supply energy back into the system, you should be allowed to do that.
Well,
Solar is an incredibly complex issue. Short answer, unless you're doing it for noble reasons, you don't put solar on your home. Payback is too high. Neighborhood solar projects where you have a quarter or half an acre, or utility scale projects similar to what Keys received as a member of MPA, much less expensive on the point of being competitive with other technologies.
I believe it's also the same answer as I said before about the cost of solar. I don't believe Keys Energy Board would have any authority over the city. I would like to think that y'all could work something out where at least if you had it and you wanted, you could put it in the back of your yard if it wasn't visible from the front, but I think that's a negotiating thing with the city. And as far as, I think what we're really talking though about is conservation. And that's what I keep saying is we can do more right now to help lower our customer costs in their own homes through better conservation, through,
I'd like to direct this to Robert. Several of the candidates have talked about specific hands-on experience with electric public utility operations. But I'd like you please to describe your view of the role of utility board members in the daily operations of Keys Energy.
Well, when the board meets twice a month, they go over the agenda, and a lot of it is the projects that are coming up for improvement. Anything over $50,000 is what they're going to approve on, and some policy issues. My experience there, I used to help put together those AISs, and I know all the contractors and the reasoning why those projects were coming to the board. And the board is very informed. They get a lot of help from staff before they get to make that decision. And I think that that's an important role that they have to approve and monitor all those projects.
And this is our final round of questions. We'll get through one more group of questions, and that's it for the evening. And so, Walt, don't hold that.
One of you mentioned how that rates are lower now than they were 9 years ago. I think that's largely due to fuel prices. And eventually fuel prices are probably going to rise again. So I'd like each of you to describe how how Keys Energy can look out for us, the ratepayers, when that happens.
Beth, you start, we'll run down right down the line.
This is really what I was just trying to talk about earlier, cost, community, and conservation. I think there's two factors when we look at our costs. We look at the fixed cost that you're receiving from Keys Energy, and yes, as a board member, I would like to work on that. But I also look at the second part of this, and this is community and conservation. How can we help our customers save money on their monthly bills in their own homes? We do that by going out into our communities, and we bring new conservation education programs, we bring new home energy saving programs, and we bring them out to the communities, to the community centers, the senior centers, the rotaries, the chambers. I want to get out into the community. I want to help our customers do better in their own homes, conserve and save energy. And it can be as simple as a programmable thermostat. Think about this for seniors and for the disabled. It's often hard for them to remember or to get to change the thermostat. I won't tell you who I love very much, who I go to her home in the evening at 3, 4 in the afternoon. And I say, why are you wearing pants and a sweater? And why is it so cold in here? Well, I forgot to turn the thermostat up this morning. And I say, but if we could be getting these programmable thermostats, and I would like to work on a grant program to do that, to our most vulnerable, our seniors, our veterans, our disabled. Oh, I'm out of time now.
You actually were like 3 seconds short. Robert. Well, I believe Keys Energy does a great job with the conservation part of it. They give out energy audits. All you have to do is call up, and they'll help you with that. They've helped out with giving out the trees, giveaways. They've helped out with the rebates after the hurricane. A lot of you had to replace your appliances. They helped with energy efficient rebates for your washers and dryers and water heaters and whatnot. So I think they're on the right track, and I think we can do better, get out there a little bit more instead of waiting for someone to call. Maybe just call them and see if they want some help.
I believe that we can lower costs for the consumer by taking a long, hard look at the amount of contract labor that Keys Energy is using, the amount of consultants that they're hiring. I would also like to see us save some money by planning for the future with some, with our senior level people that are ready to retire. Those are ways that we can start looking at cutting some of the costs. As far as the fuel savings, with fuel prices going up, we can balance those bills out a little bit throughout the year. A little bit more in the winter, a little bit less during the summer, and balance them out.
Well, I want to hit on a couple points. How do you reduce rates? If we can get out of the FMPA contract, we can go out to the market and probably get a 30 to 40% reduction in short-term 3 to 5 year rates. If you then take the savings and you put it into new efficient technologies such as reciprocating internal combustion engines, they've got heat rates or efficiencies 30 and 40% below the existing systems. Put solar in, there's no fuel involved. You want to buy fuel? Hedging. You buy fuel in tranches over a period of years.
Thank you.
Do I get a rebuttal on the consulting point?
No. But I don't know, maybe Robert will ask a question.
You know, I'm quite intrigued and very impressed because I had concluded that actually the utility board can determine what our rates are. And so, Walt, I would like for you to tell me, do you believe that as a member of the board, you actually can make a vote to determine what the rates will be for the power that the consumer has to pay?
See, I'm psychic.
Or is to develop an approved strategic plan with the tactical elements to it, to approve capital and operating budgets, and to approve the management team in place. If the management team's not doing the job, they can replace them. They can put the money where it needs to be, and in setting a long-term strategic plan, they can decide where the company should be from a source and cost and fuel mix standpoint 5, 8, 10, 15 years down the road.
We already know what Walt's going to do if he's on the board. I'm not quite so clear with the other three in terms of this rate issue and the strategic planning. How do you avoid being a rubber stamp for Keys Energy? Starting with Greg?
You want for the, it has to be either all 4 or just one.
Greg?
I would avoid being a rubber stamp because, as many people know me, I say what I believe. I'm going to fight for what I believe in. I can't sit up here and tell you that I'm going to be a rubber stamp and this and that because I don't know what issues that are going to come up that are going to be rubber stamped. I'm not a rubber stamp type of guy. When I see something I don't like, I'm going to say something about it. It's gotten me in trouble with my supervisors at my current job, but at the end of the day, they encourage it because they know it brings out the best. That's all I've got to say, is that I am my own person, and I will listen to my constituents, listen to both sides of it, and make an informed, intelligent decision.
I'm amending my rule. Robert and Beth, you do get to respond, and well, we know what you're going to say.
I've taken on probably some of the hardest and most controversial issues in this county with connecting non-key to electricity. I was taught by my dad to fight for what's right, but to always do it in a manner that makes more friends than enemies. And I'd like to think that I did that over the past 10 years. I'm very good at getting people with different opinions in a room, sitting down. Please tell me what you think, please tell me what you think. And I may not agree with everybody on that day. Someone may...
Robert. Well, first off, our rates are pretty high, but the reason that they're high is because of all the hardening that we've done. We were mandated after the 04-05 hurricane season by the Public Service Commission to harden our system. We were in a hurricane zone, and we needed to prepare before something happened. So we took the initiative at Keys Energy to put up stronger poles, to put stainless steel transformers, to put bigger wire, to get our system hardened. So I think we paid a little bit extra to get that service, and I'd rather have that reliability.
Mark, last question of the evening.
I'd like to send this one to Beth. Keys Energy reports difficulty in filling vacancies for some skilled positions due to the high cost of living in Key West and competition from other employers. What recommendations do you have to resolve this issue?
I have been fighting for affordable workforce housing since before I got on the Planning Commission and through the Planning Commission. With my time on the Planning Commission, I have approved every single one except for one project. I had to fail that one because it would have failed a road segment. I think we as a community have to focus on housing for our workforce, where 80% or more of your income is derived from working in Monroe County. The mistake we've made in the past is not differentiating affordable housing. It's great. I'm sure Bob and Marge from Ohio would have a great time and would love to live here, and they qualify under affordable housing, which is why we needed to put affordable workforce housing in there. I'm an advocate. I don't think this is a simple answer, and I hope that this election brings some new commissioners with backbones to address this issue.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our panel, our candidates, and thank you all for coming. Thank everybody on the 17 people that are watching online. Please stick around. I don't know if there's any food left. I never get to have food. Have a drink. Talk to the people in the audience. Talk to the candidates. And we will see you in 2 weeks.